All right. So I do see that there are, good morning, everyone. I do see there are 72 people joined in, and there are more people joining it. So can I quickly confirm that there are both divisions present for today's session? Are there both the divisions present today for both the sessions? Okay. So division A and division B, are you facing any problems with the video receiving, or are you facing any issues with the audios that, are you able to listen to me properly? Are you having any issues with the video that is being transmitted? All right. Okay, good enough. All right, fair enough. All right, so let's continue. So today we are dealing with one of our topics. We quickly begin with database. Let's quickly recap on what we did last time. So the last lecture that we had taken was related to data, information, and knowledge. Now, I believe most of you must have already gone through the assignment that I have given to you all. I have posted it to you all. You all can have a look through that assignment and try to see what analysis that you can do on the assignment. However, I'm giving you an opportunity to come on the camera right now and answer a few questions. So can we all start with defining what exactly is data? Can anyone, switch on your camera and would answer to this question about what is data that we have got from what we understand from the last lecture? Anyone would be, we are open for suggestions. We are open for people to discuss about it. So please switch on your cameras, right? You have been given the permission. So switch on your cameras, reply to the question, what is data? And let us try to see, we can take it forward from there. Yes, who would like to answer this question? What is data? Hello, you guys are here? I'm not able to hear you all. Hello. Uh, Guys, can you all answer? Can somebody come online and on the phone and show me your face? All right. We don't want you all to know more. Put in your answers in the chat box. Right. I want you all to switch on your cameras and tell me. Give me just a brief, small definition of what is data. All right. Saloni, please come online and come on the camera and tell me what do you mean by data, or even Yashvi can reply to the same.
So data is about
Yes.
facts and figures, which is
Uh,
not just completely.
all right. Is this Saloni or is this Yashvi?
Saloni.
All right, Saloni, thanks a lot. What about Yashvi? Yashvi, what would you like to reply in terms of data? Yashvi is not there. All right. What about Pratham? Pratham over here. Pratham, can you tell me what exactly do you mean by data?
Sir, it is a kind of raw information from which we can figure out the numbers or statistical information about some products or companies, and we can compare via that.
Yes. So when we talk about data, in short, when we all were discussing about it yesterday, a simple definition of data is none other than is defined as facts or figures that are stored in or used by a computer. So basically, in computer, we store data in a numerical form. So basically, it is in a binary form in zeros and ones, and that collectively gives us the whole understanding of data. Now, an example of data can be in terms of a research paper, it can be an email, it can be a phone record, it can be a set of information that is being stored in an Excel file. All of these can be termed as your data. So, my next question to you all is, what is information? Can somebody quickly come online, switch on your mic and tell me what do you mean by information? Yes, anyone?
So,
Yes, who is this?
sir,
Please
I think,
identify yourself.
okay, I'm Ria Sahu.
Yeah, yeah, Ria. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, I think the data which is processed is called information. Basically, the data that
Yes.
makes sense or is given some context is called
Uh-huh.
information.
All right. Yes, fair enough. Yeah, thanks a lot, Ria. So, when we talk about information, information can be thought of as the resolution of uncertainty. Now, why are we saying it as a resolution of uncertainty is because your data is uncertain, right? Your data can't simply answer the questions that you are facing, whereas an information is what helps you to answer those questions. So it is that which answers the questions of what an entity is. Here, when we talk about entity, as we are referring to the data which is in an highly unorganized form, and that's the reason why when we organize it, it becomes as information, and thus define both its essence and the nature of its characteristics. Right. So this is what we all understand from the term information. So my next question to you all is, can somebody quickly switch on your mic and tell me what do you mean by knowledge? And please tell me your name first so that I can know who is it. Yeah, please speak up.
So, knowledge. I'm Virali.
Who is this? I'm
Virali.
sorry.
Virali.
Nirali. Yes, Nirali.
Virali. Virali.
Virali. Virali. I'm so sorry. Virali. Yes, you're right. Yes, Virali, please
So, yes,
be loud.
knowledge is understanding of the information, interpreting the information, and getting the understanding out of it.
All right, fair enough. All right, so what Virali says, let us look into it. What is knowledge? Knowledge is a familiarity, awareness, or understanding of someone or something. So, when you have information and when you try to understand what exactly the information is about, it helps you to define knowledge, such as facts, skills, or objects. Knowledge can be acquired in many different ways and from many different sources, including but not limited to perception, reason, memory, testimony, scientific inquiry, education, and practice. So, in terms, when you all look at this particular definition of knowledge, it is highly, focused on the overall perspective of general understanding. But in terms of knowledge regarding computers, we all refer to the understanding that is created from the information that we have processed, taking the data from the facts and figures is what we refer to as your knowledge. So the process is very simple. First, we have your data. We take this data, it could be anything, it could be in the form of facts and figures. Like, let's say I want to find out whether the students of my SYBMS A and SYBMS B are healthy or not. So, in terms of being healthy, I would need to first understand on what are the factors that define health. And that factors taken into account, I would look at one particular question, that is the weight of that particular student needs to be defined. So when I take weight into account, if there is a healthy student, then the weight of that student should be somewhere in between 50 to 60 kgs for a girl, and for a boy it should be somewhere between 80 to 90 kgs age. So I need to data, collect data which should be in the form of your weight. So what do? I take an Excel file and I take a scale and I start measuring the weight of that particular student. person, I take it for all the 120 students of BMS. So all these lines of record, what we all refer to, can be called as your data. Data is required, we need it. Since 20 lines of data should be there in my Excel sheet, I can't really make any particular conclusion by looking at all of the data. So what do? I take an average of the weight of the students, separate for boys and separate for girls. And that average, which we all take into account, is now being calculated or is now being compared with the ideal weights that a student should have who is healthy. So when that particular weight is being compared, or when the average weight is being compared, if the average weight of the students being compared is lying within that particular scale limit, for girls it would be anywhere between 50 to 60 kgs, and for boys it would be anywhere between 80 to 90 kgs. If the weight lies in between these particular limits, then we all conclude that we have we say that the students are healthy, and that's how we gain knowledge, and from knowledge we gain your wisdom. So the idea of data, information, knowledge, and from knowledge what we gain is your final outcome is wisdom. We deal with today's world where information has played a tremendous role in shaping everyone's life. Let me tell you, there would be not a single person who has not analyzed data. You analyze it on daily basis. It's just that you analyze it, but you don't understand that you have been doing it without any understanding, without any knowledge about it, but you simply go to processing it. And that's what, when we understand, and that's what we come to know, and we become wise. So today, let us understand the next concept that I want to explain to you all is a database. Now, has anyone heard about has heard about a database? Has anyone heard about a database? Uh, can you all do me a favor? Can you all give me a very simple example of a database that you are using in your daily life? You can give that example, you can put it in the chat box so that I can come to know about what exactly is that you know about a database. Please put it in the chat box. What do you all, can you give me an example of a database? A very simple example. You can go ahead and put your information or whatever is the example that you have in the chat box. I'm just waiting for the chats to come, but I can't see anything. Yes, guys. Hello. The last chat that I see is from Yashvi. I don't see any more chats. Maybe my mobile phone isn't refreshing, right, as it's supposed to be. But anyone can, switch on your mic and simply tell me what do you all understand, or what is your very simple example of a database?
The contact details in a phone.
Yes, precise. Who is this?
Sir, Yasha.
Yasha, very nice, Yash. The contact details in your mobile phone. I do see Aryan saying Google Drive. Okay, fair enough. Sakshi says our class attendance sheet is a form of a database, right? Divij says it's a stock exchange. Kunj Vora says it's banking system. Now, Kunj, banking system is a very broader definition. Yeah, definitely. A database is used in a banking system. So one of the major examples, or one of the most simplest example of a database, is none other than your telephone directory that is being saved in your mobile phone. Your mobile phone is consisting of thousands of records of telephone numbers. But you don't need to go ahead with looking into that telephone directory again and again, because you just need to search for that name that you want to call up. You simply type his name and the name appears and you can make a call. Now, let me give you a scenario. If you had to save all of this information, that is your name, name of the person, and the contact details of the person on a Word file, can that be helpful? Excuse me. Yes, my question is very simple. If I would say that you have the similar information, that is, you have the names of the people and you have the names of the people and you have the contact numbers of the people. You have written it down onto a Word file. Would this Word file be really of any help to you? Or would it Yes, guys. Hello. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm extremely sorry that I got disconnected. Suddenly, my internet connection was dropped, and I had to, connect myself through my mobile phone network. Please bear with me. So, as I was referring to your database, uh, yes, as I was asking you all a question about database, what exactly is your database? Now, a database is an organized collection of data which is generally stored and accessed in electronic from a computer system. Can you all see my screen right now? Guys, can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you can see my screen right now. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm really sorry to put you on a hold for such a long time. It's just that my internet got disconnected, but I hope you all are able to hear me properly now. I have switched off my video so that I can save the bandwidth. And if you all are you all able to hear me properly?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, very nice.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
as I was referring to, what is a database? A lot of people have correctly replied when I asked you all to give me an example of a database. A lot of people went ahead with giving me an example of a telephone directory. Right? A telephone directory plays very well in terms of a database. The simple reason being because that a telephone directory stores information, and information which consists of two fields, the major field being the person's name and the person's telephone number. And ideally saying, every telephone directory is considered as a database. Reason being because that telephone directory has got data which is arranged in an alphabetical order. So if it is by the name of the person, it would be arranged alphabetically, and accordingly the mobile number of the person is being stored in that database. So what is a database? A database is an organized collection of data, generally stored and accessed electronically from a computer system. Your mobile phones are also a form of a computer system. In fact, when you talk about your mobile phones, it is itself a computer built in. I had asked you all a question previously that if this particular information was not stored in a database, like your telephone numbers were not stored in a database there, and if they were stored in a Word file, what would be the problem? So let me repeat the question. Right, the question is, please listen to this question carefully, and I want someone to come forward and answer this question. The question is, if your telephone names, your contact details or the contact details of your friends and families were not stored in a telephone directory or basically into your mobile phone's telephone directory, but they were saved into a Word file, right? What would be the problems that you all would be facing? Can anyone come on the microphone, switch on your microphone and tell me? Please identify yourself first.
Sir,
Yes, who is this?
Dhruv.
Yes, Dhruv.
So we won't be able to filter.
We won't be able to filter. Yes, Dhruv, can you be a little more elaborative on what do you mean by filter?
Like unlike in an Excel sheet, we won't be able to just get the name starting with F or the
Yes,
names starting with G, which we can do
yes.
in a database like Excel.
Very nice, Dhruv. Very nice. Dhruv, now let me give you an example. All right. Instead of you writing your information in an in a Word file, Dhruv, if your contact details are saved in a physical form in a directory where there is information which is arranged alphabetically. Do you all know that there were physical directories that used to come earlier? Yes, Dhruv, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically there were names, there were alphabets A, B, C, and there is to be pages for that. D, E, F, then there would be pages for that. E, F, G, and pages for that up to Z. And imagine if you were dealing with such kind of a telephone directory where you were manually writing down the name of the person. Can this be somewhere of a problem? This form of a directory. What could be the problems that you would be facing with such form of a directory? It is similar to your telephone directory, but what is the problem that you're facing?
Maybe accessibility.
Accessibility. Perfect. Exactly. When you all talk about accessibility, what happens is in a database, your data is in a highly organized form. Also, when you look at one particular set of data, there could be millions of records. Now, unlike your telephone directory, where from starting with A, you might not be having 1 million telephone numbers. But in a database, if the database is organized in an ascending order along names, in that case, with the name A, there might be a million of records. Even while searching for the millions for a very specific record from those 1 million records which are starting with A, it could be a tedious task. And that's the reason why a database has always been helpful instead of a file system. There are, when you all talk about the original file systems that used to exist, like when computers were invented, there was Word, there was Access, there was Excel, and there was PowerPoint, but there was no concept of a database. The concept of a database was developed at a very later stage when people started to identify that they are facing issues with the data that has been stored on the computer. So, what was the issues and why exactly was a database needed? Let us understand that. Now, the first reason why we need a database is to reduce data redundancy. Now, what is the meaning of data redundancy? Today, if you all would look into your mobile phones, you might find there would be the same person, right, which would be saved in different names, but the mobile number would be same. Now, if the names are saved different, but the mobile number is the same, does that mean that those are two different people? No. It means that it's the same person with the same mobile number, but unfortunately, that particular person has been saved in different names. Like for an example, if my name is Abhijit Mohite, my name can be saved as Abhijit Mohite. It can be saved as A Mohite, or it can be saved as Abhijit M. But for all of these three records, all of the data that would be still having the same phone number. Now, what is the meaning of this is that these records have been repeated. And that is the reason why when you have a database, when you have a data which is consisting of multiple records which are repeated, that can be reduced using a database. And that is what we all refer to as something called as data redundancy. The second one that we all refer to is data inconsistency. Now, what do you mean by data inconsistency? Most of the times that a data is being collected in a file, it is highly inconsistent in nature. The meaning of inconsistent being is that it would be having incomplete records. There would be partial records for information, all right, or there won't be any records as such, or the records might not be entered correctly. All of these are leading to inconsistency in data. However, this particular problem has been sorted out by the use of databases. The third reason why we need a database is that when you take a normal data which is stored on your computer, it cannot be shared, right? It is an unshareable data. Whereas when you all look into an enterprise data, a database can be used for sharing on various platforms. Now, let me tell you, if I'm working in an organization, right, where I have an accounts department, if the accounts department is holding the information about the salaries of all the employees, and if this data is stored in an Excel file, and if I need to share this file, I would need to take an email, I would need to attach the file and then send it to the person who needs it, which is considered as a highly unorthodox way of sharing information. And that's the reason why it is unshareable in nature. Whereas when you look into your database, it helps you to nullify this particular problem. It means that if you are storing your information in a database, like if the name of the person is being stored and the salary of the person is being stored, it can be accessed by all those people in that organization who have an access to that particular database. So the next part is unstandardized data. Most of the times that your data is being collected can be in an unstandardized form. What do you mean by being unstandardized? So let me explain to you all. If I'm taking the weight of the people, the weight of the people would be used in terms of metric. It means that I would take the weight in terms of kgs. Now, this particular data is in an imperial form. However, if there are people who are in America and they are collecting their data, they might go ahead with taking the data in pounds. So basically, they would take the data in pounds because the weight is carried in pounds. So they would take the data in pounds. Now, what would happen is on one level, we have data which is stored in kilograms, and on the other side, we have data which is stored in pounds. Now, if you all would try to compare, you can't go ahead with comparing because both the datas are unstandardized. It means that both of them need to have a standardized nature. It means both of the data sets need to be in one particular form. Either it should be either in kilograms or either it should be in pounds so that it can be compared properly. Now, this is the problem that you all face in earlier file systems. However, in a database, if you have any such unstandardized data, it can be automatically converted into a standardized data by passing certain queries into the database. Next one is insecure data. Now, you all are already aware about, for all those people who are using iPhones, you all must have already observed that your accounts have already been hacked, right? Most of the iPhone users are already aware that your iCloud has been hacked by people and your photographs and your information is already available on the cloud. Now, why does this happen is because when the file system that is being used is insecure in nature. Whereas when you look into a database is highly secured. It means a database not only goes ahead with storing information in tables, but it will go ahead with setting up encryption levels into the database itself so that nobody can go ahead with accessing your data. And even if somehow they are able to access the database, they would see data which is in an highly encrypted form. So decryption would be next to impossible. So the basic problem of insecurity of data is being, is being cleared by your database. And the last one we all refer to is called as your incorrect data. Now, what happens in an incorrect data? Your data is not entered correctly. It could be a manual error, or it could be a physical error, or it could be, the person who has entered it might have taken the readings incorrectly. All of these reasons lead to incorrect data. Now, most of the times that you would see a database is directly connected to computer systems, and when a database is connected to a computer systems where the computer itself is doing the calculation and storing it in the database, then there is no chance of error. For example, if there is a automation system which is meant to calculate the salaries of the people. Now, if there is a human involved in calculating the salaries of the people, he might go ahead with entering incorrect data. Maybe it could be an error from his side, but he might enter it incorrectly, and that could be one reasons why there could be inconsistency in the data. However, if there is a computer program which goes ahead with doing the calculation all by itself and saves this information into the database, then there is no chance that there would be incorrect data entered in the database. And that's the reason why we need a database. So what you all see over here are the major 6 flaws that have been seen in a file system, which have been resolved very well and efficiently by a database. Now, we need to understand another fact is what is a DBMS? A DBMS is none other than referred to as a database management system. Now, what is a DBMS? Is a database management system. Most of the companies use a database management system to manage their data on a larger scale. So a database management system is important because it manages data efficiently and perform multiple tasks with a database management system stores, organizes, and manages a large amount of information within a single software application. So when you look into a database management system, one of the pioneers of database management system is none other than Oracle. Oracle is a company which creates databases, and they are the ones who are selling databases to almost every IT company, and they are the ones who are world renowned for security of databases. So Oracle has got softwares, they have got databases, and they have got their own DBMS system, which is a breakthrough in database technologies. There are other companies also, like Microsoft has got its own database system, which is called as Microsoft SQL, which is Microsoft secured server query language. Also, there is MySQL, right, which is another form of a database. There is something called as Microsoft Access, which is also a software system meant for database. So when you all talk about where is a database being used, I would rather say a database is used almost everywhere. It is used in banks, it is used in retail, it is used in warehouses. Wherever you need to store information, you need to use a database. So databases are used just about everywhere, including banks, retail websites, and warehouses. Banks use database to keep track of customer accounts, balances, and deposits. Retail stores can use database to store prices, customer information, sales information, and quantity at hand. So these are just a few examples of where exactly is a database used. There are multiple areas where databases have been used, and in fact, today there is a world which cannot survive without a database today. So I will quickly show you one of my slides right now. Just give me a minute. Now, can you all tell me what do you see on your computer screen? Can anyone quickly tell me on your mic? Switch on your mic and tell me what do you see on your computer screen? Guys, can you all hear me? Yes.
Word page, the starting
I'm
of a
sorry.
word page or a home page.
Okay. All right. So I believe you are able to see on the left-hand side, it says access. I'm just
Yes,
trying
sir.
to confirm.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fine. Fair enough. what you're currently looking at is a database software. You all must be having it if you are using Microsoft Office. This is basically called as Microsoft Access. Now, what is Microsoft Access? A Microsoft Access is a software which comes along in the bundle of Microsoft Office. It is a form of a database management system which can be used for tracking your daily data needs, which are required in an office in day-to-day time. So, if you all would see, currently you're looking at the screen. This is a Microsoft Access window. Now, you would see over here, I have an option which is called as a blank database. I have got different templates that are available, like asset tracking. I have contacts, I have student details, event management, task management. If I click on more templates, it will show me furthermore templates about various other options available, like home inventory, lending library, personal account ledger, time cards, personal contact manager, time and billing, vehicle maintenance. All of these are the various databases that are available. So the first thing I would like to show you all today is none other than a blank database. Okay. For now, we will just see a blank database. Now, when I click on a blank database, it asks me what is the file name that you wish to create. So this file name is database1.accdb. Now, .accdb is none other than the extension for Microsoft Access Database. So every time that you are creating a file or you are creating a database in Microsoft Access, it would be stored with the name of .accdb. All right. Now, let us go ahead with creating the database. Just give it a minute while it loads. Okay. Can somebody quickly tell me what do you see on your computer screen? Hello? Can somebody answer it quickly? What do you see on your computer screen? I do see a few people typing in the chat. Yes, click to add. Sakshi is saying table. Pratham is saying click to add. Raj is saying table 1. Okay, fair enough. So it means that you all are able to see what I am seeing right now. Okay, very good. Now, what you're looking at is the place where we need to create a database. Now, if I would ask you all, what are the fields of information required in a telephone directory? Can you all tell me the minimum 2 fields which are seen in a telephone directory? Minimum 2 fields. You can put it in your chat box. Yes, it is name and number. All right. So name and phone number. That's correct. Yes, yes, yes. You all are right. You all are absolutely right on the correct page. Now, let us go ahead with understanding it. So, do you all see there is an ID and there is a click to add? Okay. Now, the first thing that you need to go is on the left hand side, you see here are the tables, right? And here is, if I click on the table, I have an option to add over here. Now, what you're looking at this entire table is meant for entering the records. So I can put in my name, right? Right. And I can put in my contact number 932169321625 Okay. Now, what is happening is that this is just an ad hoc information that I am entering without any information, without any fields of information that is being stored. So the first thing that you all need to understand is whenever you're creating a database, you need to first identify the fields that need to be entered, right? So in order to do that, we go and click on view and we click on design view. All right. Now, what you are looking at, I hope you are able to see the screen. Now, what you'll see over here is the design view of the table. Now, the first one, do you see a key that is being present over here? Can you all see this key over here? Let me just check. Yes. All right. Rati is saying yes. What about the others? The key, there is a small icon of a key besides the ID. Do you
Yes.
see that? All right.
Yes.
Fair enough. Yes. Now, this key that is available besides the ID is none other than what you all refer to as the primary key. Now, what is basically a primary key and what is the reason for having a primary key in a database? Let us understand this first. If you have a database which is consisting of multiple records, but every individual record that is available would need to be identified by a unique identifier. In that case, you prefer to set it up as an primary key. Now, let me explain to you all once again. Like, first one, I would put my name over here. I will put this as name. Right? This is a short text, and I will put this as contact number. Right? And we will put this as number. What is this basically ID over here? So the ID is going to be a unique identifier for each record. It means that if I have got two records into my database, there won't be any two records with the same ID. It means if one particular record has been given one particular ID, the next record will definitely not have the same ID as the earlier one. It will always be changing. And that's the reason why it is always set up to be a primary key. Now, to identify this, do you see an example over here? It says indexed, yes, no duplicates. It means that even if I go ahead with adding duplicate records, even for the duplicate records, there would be different IDs that would be created. Right? Yes, what Divyansh is saying is correct. It doesn't allow duplicate records. That's correct. So let us go ahead with understanding what we have created right now over here is your designed your database. So the first one is your ID, which is already set up to auto number. I would not like to change this. What is auto number? Auto number is that type of database where the number automatically keeps on incrementing. So if there is 1, the next number will be 2, the next number would be 3, the next number would be 4, and so forth. Okay. Now, look at this particular record over here. The field name has been set up as name. And the data type that we have stored over here is a short text. Now, what are the different types of data types that have been given over here? So the data types are short text, long text, number, large number, date and time, currency, auto number, yes, no, OLE objects, hyperlink, attachment, calculated, and lookup wizard. Out of this, most of the times, the data types that you use is short text, long text, number, large number, date and time. So let me look into the chat. Yes. What is OLE object? Now, most of the times that if you have any particular file that needs to be attached, right? Maybe if it is an office linked attachment that you need to attach to this particular file, you can go ahead with putting it as OLE object. Now, Sarthak, please stop asking for requesting for the control to the screen. I would deny it. Right? Don't ask control for the screen, guys. Right? Yes. Object link embedding. So yes, if you have any such office related files that you want to link it into your database as such, you can go ahead with adding those in OLE. So you have your numbers, large numbers, date, time. All of these are different types of data that can be stored. Like let's say if I want to save address. Now, for an address could be very large in nature. So I would need to use long text. All right. Well, if I want to put in date of birth, all right, in the date of birth, I would rather prefer to use a date and time format. So this is how I can go ahead with creating a database. Now, let's say salary. Now, salary is something which I would like to store it in currency. So this is how my currency would be saved. So just like whatever is the field name that you want to enter, you can enter it in field name and you can enter the data type into those particular categories. Now, let us look at contact number over here. Now, when you all look into the contact number, right, the contact number is basically of 10 digits. So ideally, you would need to set up a validation that you can't go ahead with increasing the contact number, which should be, greater than 10 digits. It should be only 10 digits. So it should not be even 9 digit or it should not be even 11 digit. It should be precisely 10 digits. So such kind of things can be set up into your, rules that have been available over here, right? Where you can specify what kind of a field size that you wish to keep. So you can keep it a byte, integer, long integer. You can look into the various options that are available for field size. There is a format that is available. Wish to keep it as a general format. If you want to put in decimals, you can put those decimals. All right. If you want validation rules, you can set up your validation rules. Whether it is required, yes or no, you can say. If you are saying it as a yes, then it becomes as a compulsory detail that needs to be filled up while you are entering it in your database, whether it is to be indexed or not. What we mean by indexing is that if a particular record is indexed, while searching for that information and in that database becomes quite easier, because indexing is usually used for identifying where exactly the data is and immediately pulling up or retrieving the records. So just like just like number, you have options for long text as well. What kind of text options that you would like to set up? Date and currency also, you have different options available, right? Like if I want to put in currency also, I can go ahead with setting up currency as what exactly the currency should be. So I can put it as rupees and it would be set up. Now we are done with designing our database. Let us go ahead with entering the data. Now, before we proceed with entering the data, I would like to show you one more thing. Now let us say that this particular contact number, I want to set it up as a primary key. So remember that I cannot have two primary keys at the same time in the database. It means either I can set up my ID as a primary key or I can set up my contact number as the primary key. So if I'm setting up my ID as a primary key, I cannot have a contact number as a primary key. And if I set up my contact number as a primary key, then I cannot have an ID as a primary key. Now, a quick question to all of you. If I want to reduce the number of duplications in my telephone directory, what field should I set up as a primary key? My question is quite simple. If I want to reduce the duplications in my telephone directory, which particular data, which particular field would I set it up as a primary key? A lot of Yash is saying ID, Mitul is saying ID, Sanya is saying contact number, Saloni is saying contact number, Mansi is saying ID, Chahel is saying contact number, right? Arish is saying phone number, Arya is saying ID, Saloni said ID. Yes. Guys, my question was, if I want to reduce duplications in my directory, then what should I set up as a primary key? Did you all remember when I said that what is a primary key? A primary key is a unique set of record that is stored in a database. So it cannot be duplicated. Now, if I am having a telephone directory and if I want to reduce the duplications that are there in that particular telephone directory, then I would rather set up my telephone directory, my mobile number as the primary key. All of those people who have said ID as a primary key are incorrect. The reason because an ID can be unique in nature, but if I can go ahead with entering 20 different IDs with the same mobile number. And what would happen because of this is that there would be 25 entries into my database which would be having same mobile number, and that is causing data redundancy. What I was referring to as the reason why we prefer to use a database is to remove redundancy. So Divyash is asking, can't both fields key be selected as composite key? Now, composite key is an altogether different concept which cannot be really applied at this particular point in time. What you're looking at this is really related to your rational databases. So I would rather not talk about composite key at this point, but keeping the job simple, let me explain to you. If you all want to keep your database very much redundancy free, I would suggest you that you would need to take that information which you do not want to be repeated and set that information as a primary key. Now, Aryan is asking, what if the same person has multiple mobile numbers? That's fine, Aryan, because if the same person is having multiple mobile numbers, even after that, those mobile numbers can be uniquely used for identifying that person. While searching for information, you can still go ahead with sorting your data as per the name of the person. And when the name of the person comes in, the same person can have different mobile numbers, and it will be still shown as a different set record. However, if a same person is having the same mobile number, but it is stored multiple number of times, then that is causing a data redundancy. And that's the reason why it can be suggested that you should put in your data primary key as your mobile number. But in most of the cases, nobody prefers to use this particular technique. Reason is being because they prefer to use something as an ID as a primary key, and according to that, you can go ahead and putting multiple information. So right now we are in the design view. Let us quickly go ahead and look into the data sheet. So let me save this table now. Yes, yes, we click on yes. So do you all see on the top that I have a name, my contact number, my address, all right, Andheri, right, my date of birth. Now, if you all would see over here, my date of birth, it's automatically come as a calendar form. So let me select it, just as for the sake of doing it, and let me select, yes, 200 rupees. So right now I have entered my data. If I hit enter and put it again, the same information, right? Right, Andheri, right, and I put in this particular information, right, and I put in 200, sorry, okay, I put in 200, right. Do you all see, although both the records are absolutely identical, right, but they are getting two different IDs. Had it been that if my contact number was being set up as something like, as a primary key, in that case, this particular error or this particular data redundancy wouldn't have been the case in my database system. So, well, that's enough for today. I would like to stop my presentation right here at this point in time, and I'm open for questions that you have, or you would like any of the questions that need to be answered regarding the topics that have been covered today. You can feel free to switch on your mic and ask me questions. Guys, hello? Guys, can you all hear me? Saloni is saying no doubts. Yes, Boksha is saying, sir, could you tell us what exactly we will have to cover in that table that's there for the assignment? Moksha, you can take any, it's a very basic thing. You have been given a data, all right? You can take any data for any country or for any such thing and analyze it and try to interpret it in your own sense. For that, you are already aware about statistics. When I had shown you the line graph, when I had shown you the bar diagram, when I had shown you histograms, that was you all to understand about how analysis could be done. So on the same line, I want you all to take that data and whatever is the primary analysis that you can do by looking at that actual data, just bring it out is in the form of an assignment. So your assignment doesn't need to be into pages. What I want you all to do is, I have given you raw data. From that raw data, I want you all to extract information. Information can be in the form of tables. From that information, you can go ahead with preparing graphs. Graphs which would help you to create an understanding of the data. And with that understanding that you have created, I want you to give out what exactly you have understood in terms of whether the death rate is high in certain countries, whether the death rate is low, whether the pandemic has really, gone ahead at large numbers in certain countries. Whatever is the analysis that you can do from that particular data, I want you all to put that into the assignment. It's as simple as that. Yes? So, Moksha, did I answer your question? How many graphs do we need to make? You can make as many graphs as you want, right? There's no limitations on the graph. You can go ahead with putting as many number of graphs that you want. The only thing, even if you put in one graph, it's absolutely fine. But you should be going ahead with telling me about what you have understood from that. All I'm looking for is what kind of an insight have you gained from the database that has been presented to you. You can look at that Excel file and you can try using pivot charts and pivot tables to help gain a better understanding. If you are not able to do that, it's fine, because in the coming sessions in the unit number 2, I will explain to you all this particular pivot chart in detail. But in the meantime, whatever that is possible from your side, you can go ahead with doing it and put it as a form of an assignment. Isha, it's one minimum chart. You can do it. It's fine. Yes. Any more questions, guys? All right. So shall we call it off for the day then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. No problem. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you for being patient and listening to me all this time. All right.